in a quiet corner of the world, far beyond the buzzing cities and tall buildings. There was a little village, surrounded by whispering woods and a sleepy river that hummed lullabies as it flowed through the valley. This village was called Stillness because when the stars came out, the whole world seemed to pause. The trees stopped swaying, the birds went silent, and even the wind slowed down to listen to the night. In this peaceful village lived a young girl named Leela. She had curious eyes, soft footsteps, and a heart full of dreams. But there was something special about Leela. She had never been able to fall asleep like other children. While others would yawn and drift away into dreams, Leela would lie in bed, listening to the rustling leaves, counting shadows on the ceiling, wondering what stories the night was hiding. Every night, she would close her eyes, take deep breaths. But sleep would stay just out of reach, like a cloud floating away. One evening, the stars began to appear, one by one, lighting up the sky like fireflies. Leela sat by her window, chin resting on her arms, watching them twinkle. That night, her grandmother came in, holding a small lantern glowing with golden light. She sat beside Leela's bed and whispered with a smile, "Do you know how I used to fall asleep when I was your age?" Leela shook her head. Her grandmother leaned closer and said, "I used to listen to the stars." Leela blinked. "But stars don't speak ... double quotes," she said softly. "Ah, but they do," her grandmother whispered. "Not with words, but with warmth, with kindness, with quiet. If you really listen, you can hear them too." Leela's eyes sparkled. "And let your heart drift up to meet them ... Will they speak to me tonight? Only if you lie still." Her grandmother kissed her forehead, pulled the blanket up to her chin, and left the lantern on low. As Leela lay there, eyes closed, breathing slowly, she imagined herself floating, up, past the roof, above the trees, above the clouds, into the night sky, soft, endless, filled with glittering stars. She wasn't afraid, the sky felt like home. And just when she reached the quietest place of all, a small golden star shimmered beside her and said in the gentlest voice, "Hello, little one, we've been waiting for you." Leela floated among the stars, her heart calm and still. All around her, the night sky sparkled like a sea of diamonds. But instead of cold, it felt warm, comforting, almost like a hug from the universe itself. As they traveled farther, Leela saw something extraordinary, a garden in the sky. It floated between constellations, filled with glowing flowers, soft starlight petals, and trees that shimmered silver. The stillness inside you, the quiet, the calm. That is the gift of night. She stretched and yawned, feeling the warmth of her blankets and the love of her family around her. Outside, birds sang their morning song. Leela knew, even without looking, that it would be a beautiful day. She could feel it in her heart, a little ball of sunshine and joy. Then she remembered her night in the sky, the garden, the golden star, the dream berry. She sat up in bed and looked out the window. The sky was a clear, bright blue. Not a single cloud, she smiled. Now she understood. The sky wasn't just beautiful at night. It was beautiful any time you looked at it because the sky was a part of her now, too. Leela looked up at the sky again, which was now a little brighter, not with sun, but with comfort. The stars pulsed like slow heartbeats. She sat on a glowing rock and closed her eyes again. And this time, the stars didn't need to whisper because Leela already felt what they were saying. You are home. The air smelled like dreams, a little bit of lavender, a little bit of vanilla, and a hint of something sweet and warm, like her grandmother's hugs. This is the sky garden, the star whispered. Where sleepy thoughts rest before they become dreams. In the garden, tiny lights floated like butterflies. Each one carried a peaceful thought, a child laughing, a cozy bedtime story, a wish whispered before sleep. The golden star beside her flickered gently and said, "Come with me. There's something we want to show you. You can pick one if you'd like," said the star. Leela gently reached for a berry, and as she held it, a voice echoed inside her mind. You are safe, you are warm, you are loved. Her eyelids felt heavy, but she kept walking gently through the garden. There was no rush. In the sky, time moved slowly, like a feather floating on air. She passed a pool of silver water. When she looked in, she didn't see herself. She saw her favorite memories, the first time she hugged her kitten, her grandmother reading her stories by candlelight, the feeling of soft rain on her face in the summer. Leela nodded, and together they drifted across the sky. Below them, the earth slept peacefully. Villages tucked under blankets of mist, mountains resting under moonlight, and oceans breathing in slow, steady waves. Leela walked quietly through the glowing grass. She saw a tree where dream berries grew, little glowing orbs that pulsed with slow, sleepy light. The golden star hovered beside her again. "Do you feel it now?" It asked softly. "Feel what?" Leela whispered. When Leela woke up, the sun was just a little ball on the horizon. And as long as she had the memory of its beauty inside her heart, she would always know, you are home. So we just talked about how all the stories in the world have already been written. There's nothing new under the sun, right? Well, I think this is a good place to introduce our next character. Let me give you some hints. He's old. He likes stories. He's probably written a few himself. And he lives in the most magical place in the whole universe. So who is he? Well, here he is. Allow me to introduce him. When you look up at the stars, what do you see? Stars, right? That's pretty obvious. Most of us see just shiny points of light, pinpricks of color in the vast darkness. But our young friend Leela sees something different. To her, the stars aren't just shiny points of light. He's sitting on a glowing stone, and the starlight around him are gently swaying like curtains in the wind. He's still, not because someone told him to be. It's nice, isn't it? It's nice that we're not told exactly what she's thinking or feeling. It gives us a chance to imagine what she's experiencing. Think about it. Are you surprised when you meet the story keeper? Are you scared, excited, curious, anxious? What about you? How would you feel if you suddenly found yourself face to face with a mysterious, ancient storyteller in the middle of a flower garden galaxy? Whatever you're feeling, I bet it's something worth exploring. Not fast, but slowly, like a painting shifting gently with time. And then she heard it, a starry voice, gentle as wind through feathers, began to tell a story. Once, in a kingdom made of clouds, there lived a lion who had no roar. He wandered quietly through the sky, afraid that he would never be strong. But one night, he looked into a pool of stars and realized his silence was his strength, but because quiet felt beautiful. The golden star beside her twinkled gently and said, "There is someone I'd like you to meet. Write down what you'd say, write down what you'd ask the story keeper." "Leela," he said. His voice was deep and slow, like thunder whispered through velvet. "I don't think the story keeper writes down everyone's stories. I think he only writes down stories that are still unwritten. He doesn't write down Leela's story because she's already writing it herself. The story keeper knows her because she's already a character in so many stories. I mean, honestly, who doesn't know Leela? Who hasn't heard her story?" "Yes," she answered, her voice small, as if afraid to disturb the quiet. "I've been expecting you," he said, and for a moment, she didn't understand. Then she saw the book in his hands, the one filled with stories that danced and drifted like smoke. "You came to listen to stories, little one, and there are many stories waiting for you. When we share our stories, we can be brave, we can learn to trust and open up. And that's what's happening here with Leela. She's not just listening to the starry tales, she's sharing them. Would you like to hear about the whispering willow in the Valley of Dreams? Or perhaps the adventures of Finn and the fireflies in the crystal caves?" Leela's eyes widened. "Oh, I'd love to hear both," she whispered, and snuggled into the soft grass beneath her. And by doing so, she's sharing herself. From between the glowing trees, a tall figure began to appear, not frightening, not loud, but gentle and glowing, like a candle that had never flickered. It was an old man with silver robes and a long, flowing beard that sparkled like stardust. He walked slowly, with a glowing book in his hands. "This is the story keeper," whispered the star. "He listens to every dream, every wish, every sleepy thought in the world, and writes it down in the book of rest. They're friends, see, that's what makes Leela special. She's not scared of the dark, and because of that, she can see the starlight, not just as light, but as living things." Now, when you first read the description, who did you think it was? Each of them has their own personality, their own little quirks. Do you remember that scene? She's walking along this gorgeous, beautiful street. Everything's green, everything's perfect. And then she stops and asks the tree, "Are you real?" And the tree says, "Well, I'm as real as the next tree," and it sort of fades away. Now, There's a lot of ways to interpret that scene. Like, are we supposed to take the tree literally? Is it just pretending to be real? Is Dorothy losing her mind? Like, what's really happening there? Well, whatever it is, I think it shows us that sometimes we need to stop being so sure of ourselves and what we know. Sometimes it's good to wonder, am I real? Because then maybe, just maybe, we'll realize how real the world is. Some are shy and dim. Some are bright and outgoing. Some twinkle so hard they look like they're winking. And some are gentle and soft, just like our dear friend Moonbeam. And Leela talks to the starlight, and you know what? They talk back. Now, most people, they can't understand the language of the starlight. It sounds like a bunch of gibberish to them, but Leela gets it perfectly clear. Moonbeam is really excited to show her this new friend, and who could blame him? I mean, it's not often you get a chance to make a new friend in the Sky Garden. Did you think of an old man in a rocking chair with a cup of tea and a dusty manuscript? Yes, that's what I thought you might say, but that's not the Sky Garden. I'm talking about a place much grander than that. Do you see all of the stars up there? That's it. This entire galaxy is the Sky Garden. These aren't just stars. They're flowers, every single one. All across the universe, the galaxies are like that, blooming with flowers of light. And in the center of this Sky Garden, there's a bush. Well, it looks like a bush. Actually, it's an old man. And his name is the Storyteller. Maybe you thought of a wise, ancient wizard in a tower full of spell books, or perhaps a kindly grandfather reading bedtime stories to his grandchildren. We know he likes stories because he's going to tell one tonight, and we know he lives in the most magical place in the universe because, well, this is the Sky Garden, for crying out loud. What could be more magical than this? The storyteller is kind, patient, loving, and also wise beyond measure. How can he not be, considering he's lived long enough to see the birth of this galaxy, the death of its enemies, and the return of its peace? If you guessed any of these, don't worry. You haven't lost your imagination. These are all great places for a storyteller to live. But our particular storyteller doesn't live in any of these places. Oh, no, not this storyteller. He lives somewhere much more wonderful than any of those. He lives in the Sky Garden. When I say the Sky Garden, do you see this big, beautiful garden full of fluffy white clouds and rainbow waterfalls? We know he's old because the star tells Leela he's very old. Let me ask you something. The starlight aren't just simple flowers, no, sir. You know, this reminds me of that time when Dorothy met the tree spirit in the Emerald City. Leela and Moonbeam float to the tallest star in the whole garden, and that's where they find him. Now, we don't actually see Leela react to this at all. And hey, I want you to write down what you'd feel like. The storykeeper turned to her, his eyes filled with a gentle light. This is the best part. He knows her. He knows her story. Do you think he wrote it? Probably not. As the night deepened and the starlight twinkled overhead, the storykeeper began to speak. The sky above her began to move. The wind carried secrets through the long grass, whispers of magic and adventure that tugged at Leela's heart. She dreamed of faraway places, of stars that twinkled just for her, and of adventures that unfolded in the soft glow of twilight. It was here that Leela found solace, her secret hideaway where worries melted away like morning mist, and the only sound was the wind's lullaby. But for now, there was the meadow and the old oak tree with its moss-covered roots and leaves that danced in the gentle breeze. One evening as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Leela felt a familiar pull, a yearning for the stars and the stories they held. Suddenly, a shooting star streaked across the heavens, leaving a shimmering trail in its wake. Maybe it would lead her to where the star had come from, to the very source of its magic. It beckoned to Leela, promising safety and the fulfillment of her quest. A clearing bathed in moonlight, a small cottage nestled in its center, and in front of the cottage, a garden unlike any she had ever seen. But it was the cottage that held the most allure. Drawn by the music and the promise of adventure, Leela approached the cottage with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Its walls seemed to shimmer, and a warm, inviting light spilled out from its windows, promising comfort and the warmth of a hearth fire. It was filled with flowers that glowed with an ethereal light, their petals unfurling to reveal colors that danced on the edge of her vision. With renewed determination, she pushed through the last of the trees and gasped in amazement. She saw a majestic castle bathed in starlight, wise old wizards with twinkling eyes, and mythical creatures that seemed straight out of legend. So you seek the wisdom of the ancients, child of starlight. Speak your desires, and the crystal shall reveal what fate has in store. Each scene was more breathtaking than the last, leaving her in awe of the mysteries that lay hidden within the ball's swirling depths. With a deep breath, she poured out her story, sharing her dreams, her fears, and her yearning for adventure. Standing before her was a woman of ethereal beauty, her features ageless, her eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom. "I am Luna, guardian of this realm," the woman replied. "And this cottage is but a small part of my domain." The swirling vortex within it grew brighter, and images swirled faster, as if eager to be seen. "What brings you here, child of starlight? What secrets do you seek?" The world around her seemed to fade, and she found herself transported to a place of pure energy and light. She wore a flowing gown that shimmered with celestial patterns, and a crown of stars rested upon her head, each star pulsing with a soft inner light. In the distance, she saw a magnificent city, its towers reaching for the stars. The city seemed to hum with life, and Leela felt a deep sense of connection to it, as if it were a part of her very being. They were the embodiment of hope and resilience, and Leela felt an overwhelming sense of admiration for them. With a heart full of wonder and a mind filled with dreams, she set off into the darkening meadow. When Leela fell silent, Luna's eyes twinkled with understanding. She knew in her heart that this was where she was meant to be, that she was a star weaver in training, destined to help bring light into the world. There were scholars poring over ancient texts, inventors tinkering with wondrous devices, and healers tending to those in need. This is Starlight City, a place where dreams take flight and where you are destined to play a vital role. Your heart is pure, your spirit strong, Luna said softly. These individuals seemed to be the heart and soul of the city. With a graceful sweep of her hand, Luna gathered the attention of the crowd. They moved gracefully among the crowds, their hands glowing with celestial light as they wove their magic. "And I sense great potential within you, child of starlight. But potential without purpose is like a star without light. You must find your reason for being, your place in the grand tapestry of existence. Unlike the other stars that twinkled steadily, this one seemed to dance and flicker with an otherworldly light." As twilight deepened, the meadow transformed into a sea of twinkling lights. "The answers lie within you, waiting to be discovered. Look inside yourself, child of starlight, and let your inner light guide your way." Each star seemed to have a tale to tell, and Leela, with her boundless curiosity, wanted to hear them all. As she neared the door, the melody reached a crescendo, then abruptly stopped. The interior of the cottage was as magical as its exterior, filled with treasures that hinted at untold stories. It shimmered with an otherworldly glow, and as she approached, she saw a swirling vortex of colors within its depths. The air around the crystal hummed with energy, and Leela felt a strange pull, as if the ball was calling to her. Elven weapons hung on the walls, their hilts crafted with intricate designs that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Books with leather covers lay open on a nearby table, their pages filled with arcane symbols and forgotten lore. For a moment, only the sound of her own heartbeat broke the silence. Then, as if sensing her presence, the door slowly creaked open. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of wildflowers and the promise of adventure. The path led her to the edge of the meadow, where tall trees stood like silent guardians, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. She looked up, tracing the paths the stars made across the velvet canvas of the night sky. As the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, Leela decided to follow the path left by the shooting star. Each step took her deeper into the heart of the whispering grass. As darkness enveloped the meadow, Leela's heart pounded in her chest. The trees loomed over her, their shadows dancing around her feet. But the fear that threatened to consume her was mixed with an exhilarating sense of anticipation. What wonders awaited her in the darkness? What secrets would the night reveal? Just when the darkness seemed like it might swallow her whole, a faint glow appeared through the trees. Before her lay a sight so magical it seemed like a dream. In the center of the garden, a bubbling fountain sparkled, its water reflecting the moonlight and casting dancing shadows on the surrounding flowers. As Leela stepped into the clearing, she heard the soft strum of a harp, and the melody seemed to weave itself into the fabric of the night. With each step, the music grew louder, filling the clearing with its enchanting notes. Hesitantly, Leela pushed the door wider and stepped inside. But what truly captivated Leela was a crystal ball resting on a pedestal in the center of the room. As she gazed into the swirling depths of the crystal ball, images flashed before her eyes. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the cottage, rich and resonant like the chime of distant bells. Leela turned to face the source of the voice and gasped. "Who are you?" Leela whispered, her voice filled with wonder. Leela hesitated, unsure how to begin her tale. But as she met Luna's knowing gaze, she felt a surge of confidence. As Leela spoke, Luna listened patiently, her gaze unwavering. Leela frowned, pondering Luna's words. "But how can I find my purpose when the path ahead seems so unclear?" she asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. Luna smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners. As Luna spoke, the crystal ball on the pedestal began to glow, bathing the room in a soft, ethereal light. "The crystal wishes to show you something," Luna said, her voice filled with gentle urgency. "Are you ready, child of starlight?" Leela nodded, her eyes wide with anticipation. As the crystal flared, Leela felt a sudden rush of energy course through her veins. All around her, stars twinkled, forming patterns that shifted and changed like a celestial dance. Within the city, Leela saw people from all walks of life, young and old, united in their pursuit of knowledge and understanding. But what truly captured Leela's attention were the Star Weavers. As Leela watched, mesmerized, she realized that the Star Weavers were using their powers to heal the sick, to protect the weak, and to bring light into the darkest corners of the city. Suddenly, one of the Star Weavers turned, and Leela felt a jolt of recognition. It was Luna, her eyes shining with warmth and wisdom. "Welcome home, child of starlight," she said, her voice echoing with power and kindness. As Luna spoke, Leela felt a profound sense of belonging wash over her. In this cozy corner of the cosmos, tucked between the swirling arms of a nebula and a twinkling cluster of stars, lies the cradle of dreams. It was woven from silver mist and soft moonbeams, and it glowed with the dreams of every sleeping child. Deep in the velvet embrace of night, when the world was hushed and still, Leela found herself drawn to this mystical cradle. Yet something deep within Leela refused to let those dreams turn to dust. So when the velvety cloak of night fell once more, she found herself drawn to the window. Gazing up at the moon, she whispered her hopes and fears into the silent cosmos, her heart pounding softly in her chest like a drum in the quiet of the night. Radiant and serene, the moon seemed to welcome Leela into its silvery light. Leela gasped, not in fear, but in wonder. The moon, once a distant orb in the sky, now loomed large, revealing a landscape of shimmering beauty. Cradles of mist, rivers of moonlight, and hills of stardust dotted the lunar surface, all bathed in an ethereal glow. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. And yet as the cradle continued its ascent, Leela felt an overwhelming sense of calm wash over her. No longer afraid, she was ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that she was not alone. The air was still, but Leela could feel the faint hum of energy all around her. Looking up, she saw that the stars no longer twinkled. At the end of the ribbon, Leela saw a gathering of figures, each unique yet connected by an invisible thread. One of the figures, a woman with hair like spun moonlight, stepped forward. Her voice echoed with a power that seemed to resonate within Leela's very bones. "Welcome, traveler," she said, her gaze unwavering. "We have been expecting you. Each of them holds a piece of your story, a thread in the tapestry of your life." One by one, the figures stepped forward, their forms shifting and coalescing until each was clearly defined. There was the weaver, whose hands moved with an otherworldly grace, always creating, never finishing. The oracle, whose eyes held the depths of time, seeing all, knowing all. The dreamer, who walked with eyes closed, lost in the boundless realms of imagination. And the guardian, whose presence radiated an unwavering strength and protection. Some were cloaked in shadow, others shone with a soft inner light. They, too, had a role among these lunar beings. Leela saw her life laid out before her, a jumble of threads, some bright and vibrant, others dark and tangled. She looked to her companions, seeking guidance, and in their silent wisdom, she found the strength to face whatever lay ahead. This was just the beginning of her journey, and the threads of her fate were now in her hands. It was overwhelming, yet strangely liberating. Leela realized that she had always had the power to shape her own destiny, to choose which threads to pull, which patterns to weave. The woman with moonlit hair turned back to Leela, her gaze intense. "Your journey has led you here, for a reason, traveler," she said, her voice echoing with power. "What will you do with the guidance you have been given? What threads will you weave into the tapestry of your life?" She had journeyed far and faced her fears to reach this moment. Now, with the support of her companion and the expectant gaze of the lunar beings upon her, she felt a surge of confidence. All of them seemed to be waiting, their gazes turned expectantly toward the ribbon. They blazed with an unwavering brilliance, their light unfiltered by the atmosphere of the earth. Together, they began their journey across the lunar landscape, leaving the cradle of dreams, bathed in its gentle light, waiting for the next weary traveler to find solace in its embrace. In that instant, Leela knew that this being was not just a guide, they were a companion, sharing the journey, the burdens, and the triumphs. Hand in hand, they ventured deeper into the lunar realm. It was as if the moon, with its gentle light and silent wisdom, was guiding her to a place of peace. For days, she had chased shadows and danced with whispers of doubts that teased her from the corners of her eyes. It hummed with a melody too soft for ears, a song of solace and slumber. The figure was tall and slender, their features obscured by the soft glow of the moon. "My dreams have shown me the way, yet I am uncertain of the path ahead," the woman with the moonlit hair nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "Your dreams are the whispers of your soul, traveler," she said, her voice echoing with wisdom. "They hold the answers you seek, but sometimes you must journey to find them." Then, to Leela's surprise, the figure did not speak. They simply reached out a hand, palm open, fingers splayed, beckoning her. Hesitantly, Leela reached out to touch the offered hand. Their skin was cool to the touch, like the soft petals of a night-blooming flower, yet it radiated a comforting warmth. But what struck Leela most was the aura that surrounded them, an essence of ancient wisdom and quiet strength. She released the breath she had and realized she was holding, and allowed herself to be guided out of the cradle. Standing on the surface of the moon, she looked back at the cradle and saw that it had begun to glow with a soft, steady light. The moon was no longer just a silent observer. It was a beacon, a lighthouse guiding lost souls to safety. As the figure drew closer, Leela's fear began to melt away, replaced by a sense of recognition, as if she had known this being in a dream that had long since faded. Hope rekindled in Leela's heart, urging her forward. With hesitant steps, she approached the glowing spectacle. Fear and wonder locked in a silent battle within her, each step echoing her racing heart. In the hushed hours before dawn, her mind would spin tales of what could go wrong, painting pictures of failure so vivid they felt like scars. As the sun rose each morning, it seemed to mock her fears, reminding her that her dreams were made of stardust and wishes, not solid ground. She couldn't remember how long she had been lying there, lost in the peaceful sway of the cradle, when a new sensation dawned on her, a feeling of weightlessness, of floating. With a start, she opened her eyes and saw that the cradle was no longer anchored to the ground. It was rising, ascending higher and higher into the star-studded sky. And as if in response, the cradle of dreams began to glow. When she finally reached out to touch the shimmering mist, it felt like cool water on sun-kissed skin, soothing and refreshing. As she stepped into the cradle, it was warm, light, and perfectly soft. It cradled her body like starlight, enveloping her in a warmth that chased away the lingering chill of fear. Closing her eyes, she surrendered to the moment, letting the gentle rocking lull her into a state of pure relaxation. Slowly, the world around her faded into a peaceful blur. Below her, the world shrunk, becoming a patchwork quilt of dark and light as the moon sailed majestically through the cosmos. As the cradle approached the moon, the starry sky transformed into a sea of silver, stretching endlessly above her. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the silvery landscape, striding towards Leela with measured steps. The figure stopped before the cradle, their gaze fixed on Leela with an intensity that both startled and reassured her. With the being's hand clasped in hers, Leela felt a surge of confidence. Leela turned back to the figure, her eyes shining with newfound determination. As they walked, the lunar surface beneath their feet shimmered, rippling like water disturbed by a gentle breeze. The figure turned, sensing Leela's gaze, and offered her a small smile, their eyes crinkling at the corners. The path beneath their feet shifted, transforming into a wide, shimmering ribbon that stretched into the distance. As Leela and the figure approached, the figures stirred, their eyes focusing on Leela. Leela's heart pounded, not in fear, but in anticipation. "I am here because I seek guidance," Leela began, her voice echoing in the vastness of the lunar landscape. She turned, gesturing to the assembled figures. "These are the keepers of dreams, the weavers of fates," she said. Leela's companion, whose identity had remained shrouded in mystery, stepped forward. As if on cue, the fabric of reality around them shimmered, revealing a glimpse of the tapestry. But how? How does one navigate the labyrinth of life, balancing dreams with reality, fear with courage, and the whispers of the soul with the demands of the world? Time passed slowly, or maybe it didn't pass at all. Leela slept peacefully in the moon's cradle, wrapped in moonlight, swaying with the stars. But sleep in the sky is a journey, one that takes you even deeper, into places only dreams can go. As Leela's breathing grew even softer, the golden star appeared once more, smiling kindly. It hovered near her and whispered, "Now it's time for the last part of your journey." Without waking, Leela began to drift again, not through the air this time, but gently down, into a glowing river that wound through the sky. This was the river of dreams. Its water wasn't water at all. It was made of light, soft thoughts, the shimmer of calm hearts, and the quietest wishes ever made. The river flowed without sound, only a feeling. Of warmth, of floating, of being exactly where you're meant to be. The river of dreams flowed on, carrying Leela deeper into the quiet heart of the night. No thoughts, no noise, just warmth and weightlessness. Like being wrapped in a cloud. The golden star, her companion from the very beginning, floated just above her, its light dimmed now. Not because it was fading, but because even stars rest when a dream is complete. Above her, the sky remained full of light, but now, it felt like it belonged to her. She wasn't just a visitor anymore, she was part of it. Part of the stillness, part of the hush, part of the infinite, whispering calm. The star lowered itself close, and for one last moment, spoke in a voice like a fading breeze, "Sleep is not the end, Leela. It is where all your strength is restored, where your heart remembers how to breathe. Where the world becomes soft again. You have listened well. And now, the stars will listen to you." The star paused. And for the first time since they met, Leela spoke without words. A quiet feeling, one of peace, gratitude, and love, flowed from her like a sigh in the dark. And the stars heard it, one by one. The stars above her began to dim. Not from sadness, but because they were closing their eyes too. The night was complete. The moon, still cradling her gently in its curve, hummed a final lullaby. "Rest now, dreamer. There is nothing more to do. You are safe. You are home." And in that moment, Leela let go completely. She didn't fall asleep, she became sleep. A peaceful soul, floating in a sea of starlight. Breathing with the universe, wrapped in silence. Forever held in the arms of the whispering stars.